guys. Here we are once again. It's Monday.
Yeah. Monday?
Yeah.
I guess it is Monday.
We have the same shirt on. God damn it.
Tuesday. Well, shit. They're just work shirts.
Well, shit.
Yeah.
I'll zip my little.
She just noticed it now, and then she told me. Yeah.
Well, I didn't notice you weren't in here.
Yeah.
I didn't notice.
All
I
right.
wasn't looking at your shirt.
It's all good.
It
all
doesn't
good.
matter. You can't really. See
I made
mine
a shit
anyway.
ton of them.
Yeah, we did make this. This is actually my
Yeah.
favorite one that I did, I think.
Yeah.
Although I like that other one too, like the round one, this little Grim Reaper. I like that one as
Yeah.
well.
All right, we'll talk about this movie. Once again, the Koreans kind of knocked it out of the park with this one back in 2010.
They did.
I really, when I lived in Korea, this is back in the early 2000s, late, because I moved there fucking 1990 is when I lived there. 90 to 91, towards the end of 91. And during that time, Korean stuff fucking sucked. It did. It was always some kind of like Japanese knockoff of kind of inferior quality. It wasn't any good. And I think like Korean Gen Xers who were my age back in those days were also noticing that. Because that shit was made by Korean boomers. And it was just fucking lame. So Korean Gen Xers, I think, were noticing that their fucking storytelling kind of sucked. So they started to kind of up the game. I remember the first couple Korean movies that I noticed, and I was like, man, these things are fucking good. They weren't like they used to be. Was one called Musa, and it was kind of a Musa the Warrior, I think is what it's called. That was the English title. I think the Korean title it translated as like slave, and it was about this Korean slave guy who'd been he was traveling around with these Korean mercenaries. This is back in their medieval era, and they were on this damn mission to contact China, and it's kind of like their version of Saving Private Ryan. They get fucked up. It's a real good one. Guys want to check that one out. Musa the Warrior.
Yeah, I don't think I've seen that one actually.
It's really good.
I've heard of it, but I haven't seen it.
Yeah, swords and bows and stuff, and it's just like real kind of realistic combat, medieval type combat. That one I noticed, and then the one after that I really noticed was that Old Boy.
Yeah, which we did a review of.
Yeah.
And actually the guy that's in this playing the serial killer was also in Old Boy.
That's right. That's right. That is that same guy, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
And when I saw Old Boy, it had style. It had pretty decent storytelling, It was kind of set itself apart from a lot of Japanese stuff. It did kind of have a Japanese kind of flavor to it, but you could tell it was real good quality. Well, this one came out in 2010, and you watch it, and this is kind of like the Korean version of, I don't know, Silence of the Lambs. Or, no, not really. More kind of like Hannibal Rising. It's kind of like that. This dude who's like a cop, who's like really fucking...
He's actually kind of a secret agent, like a CIA kind of.
CIA
He's NIS is what he is.
Yeah. Kind of like their version of FBI type of deal.
Yeah.
And he's really resisting the urge to become a serial killer of serial killers. Kind of like Dexter.
Yeah.
Dexter.
But not funny or like not funny at all.
Yeah. And also kind of like Hannibal Rising, which is one of my favorite Hannibal Lecter movies. It's a real stylish, good movie. And it's kind of like shows that Hannibal Lecter, in a weird way, was kind of like Batman when he started out. Or a dude like this, trying to get revenge for what happened to his sister and his family. And that's what eventually made him into a cannibal. This movie's kind of like that. It's worth seeing. I liked it. I enjoyed it.
I actually first saw this movie probably 2 or 3 years ago after I saw it on kind of underrated horror movie. It's usually classified as a horror movie, which it's not exactly. It's more like a revenge thriller, but it definitely has like some horror elements for sure. And it is about a serial killer, and there is this is way more violent than most horror movies that you would see.
It's got a lot of action in it, a lot of action sequences.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like an action movie too.
Yeah, it definitely is. So it has that. So I saw it like a few years ago, and it like turned up on some like it was like Rolling Stone list or something like that, like these underrated horror movies. And so I saw that it was on Shudder at that time, and I watched it, and I was like, holy shit, that was fucking great. And I kept like wanting him to watch it, and then like, you know, we just never got around to it. And then finally last night, it's on Amazon Prime. If you have Amazon Prime, you can watch it for free. And I was like, well, we're gonna watch it tonight, goddammit, because I've been wanting to see this for a while. And it was still early in the evening because it's kind of long. I will admit that it's 2.5 hours, so it is kind of like a time commitment. Although I will say, at 2.5 hours, it doesn't seem like it dragged at all.
No, I was instantly pulled into it. I liked it immediately. I didn't, you know what I mean? It wasn't one of those kind of movies you have to kind of like wait and warm up to. I immediately was like, oh, this is a good movie.
Yeah, you can kind of tell, like, right from the outset. I mean, and not only that, it's just kind of like, this was directed by Kim Jee-woon, who has done a lot of movies, but I think probably his best known one over here is A Tale of Two Sisters, which is also great, although it's a lot different than this one. Tale of Two Sisters is kind of more like a traditional ghost story, you know, horror movie, whereas this one, like I said, is way more like action movie, revenge thriller, serial killer type story. And it also kind of has, it has kind of like a moral undertone to it. And I think one of the things that really makes this work, and this is something that makes a lot of kind of other Korean movies that I really got into, like Train to Busan, for example, they're very good. You know, the kind of like top tier South Korean directors are really good at getting you emotionally invested in their characters without having to do too much exposition or too much. And I'm not really sure how they do it, but
they did it the way that real traditional good Hollywood directors did it, by quality storytelling, and, you know, showing and not telling, and being kind of linear. See, a lot of problems with Japanese storytelling is that it's not real linear. It's kind of episodic and it jumps around. It's not kind of Western storytelling is kind of based on what you'd find from like Shakespeare. There's a beginning, there's a middle, and there's an end. You know what I mean? It's pretty clearly constructed and easy to follow. A lot of Japanese stuff jumps all over the place. Too many damn flashbacks.
It's episodic too. Like I've noticed.
Right. Well,
not across the board, but
Koreans, you know, back in the 60s and the 70s, were trying to kind of emulate what Japanese did, and it's really hard to do that right. They mostly do it wrong, because it's just, usually it sucks. And the Koreans knew that too, and so did the Japanese. All their good directors are kind of like inspired by Western storytelling. Now, there's some exceptions, you know, and fucking Kurosawa was real good. You know, he influenced a lot of American directors and storytellers. He was kind of ahead of his time. But Kurosawa also was basically retelling Shakespeare a lot of times. So, you know, there was an East-West exchange when it came to storytelling. This one has a very Western feel to it, very Western.
Well, it's a very straightforward story. There's not really any jumping backward in time. There's not really any flashbacks, really. It's a very, very straightforward story. It's not in a way that it's like it's not really any like twists and turns or anything like that. It's just kind of like a steadily escalating situation is basically what it is.
Yeah, and you're like, oh, you're like, oh, this thing's just getting started because it started.
Yeah, he actually said that out loud at one point.
Oh, okay, I got you. Yeah, all right. See which way they're going. It's good, man. A real good movie.
Honestly, I fucking love this movie. So okay, so in case you guys don't know, this is what happens in this movie. So the guy who's kind of like the hero of it, who's played by Lee Byung-hun, who was in a lot of stuff, but most recently I think he was in Squid Game. And so he's like an NIS agent, which is kind of like CIA, FBI type person. So at the very beginning, he's talking to his fiancée on the phone, and her car has broken down, like on this sort of remote ward. He's working somewhere. He's in like this hotel room or whatever with a bunch of other agents. And her car is broken down. They kind of establish it's her birthday, and he's kind of like, oh, I'm always working on your birthday. I'm so sorry, blah, blah, blah. And she's sitting there waiting for the tow truck. And sooner or later, this little school bus comes along. It's a little school van, I guess. And the guy's like, hey, I can help you. You just have a flat tire, blah. And she's like, no, bro, that's okay. I'm just like waiting for the tow truck. And she's really nervous, as you would be. And she had every right to be, because it turns out that this dude is a serial killer. And he beats the shit out of her with a hammer, drags her back to his lair. And it's implied that he rapes her later, although they don't show that. And then he cuts her into pieces and dumps all the pieces in the thing. So not only was her fiance, she was pregnant also, by the way. Not only was her fiance like an FBI type, an NIS agent, but her dad was also kind of like the chief of police of like that area. So at this point, both of them are just obviously devastated. They find her fucking head. It's horrifying. So he basically says, he resolves that I'm going to find the person that did this and cause them the same amount of pain that you caused to her. So the rest of the movie, because he's, a secret agent, essentially, and he knows the chief of police, who's also the victim's dad, he has access to all of this information and technology and shit like that. So he decides what he's going to do. He's not just going to track this motherfucker down and kill him. He's going to essentially do like a cat and mouse thing where he'll like catch him for a little while and then beat the shit out of him and like torture him and shit like that and then let him go just so he can like find him again because he wants him to feel the same fear and the same angst and stress and everything that he caused to all of his victims.
This angle's kind of fucked up because he catches this dude, lets him go. And the dude, when he lets the good dude go, he goes out, rapes, and kills other people.
Well, see, that's what I'm saying. That's kind of like the point of the movie, is that this guy is the hero, and you understand what he's doing, and the dude is a monster. Like, the serial killer is a monster. Yeah. He has like no redeeming qualities whatsoever. He's just a horrible, like, sociopathic person. So it's like you don't feel bad when he gets his ass thrashed, but as it goes on, there's all of these sort of unintended consequences, like, ripples in a pond going out, where it probably would have been better if he was going to do that. Because at first it seemed like the cops kind of knew what he was doing, but they were sort of like looking the other way. They don't really say that, but that's kind of what they implied. But once it starts getting to a thing where he gets into like this almost like a competition. It's not like a competition, but
it goes to a bloodlust.
This bloodlust type of thing where he's just like obsessed with like going after the student, like making him suffer. Yeah. And then like so the serial killer almost starts to kind of like enjoy it, like enjoy the game, because he's also a hunter. Yeah. So they become sort of like more like each other, I guess.
Yeah, but in the meantime, he's trying to get his revenge. And enjoying his revenge, but this dude, he's letting him go. He's killing and raping people.
I mean, the thing about it is that at some point, like the first time that he catches him, he actually prevents, because this guy, like I said, he's basically, he gets fired from his job because they find out that he's under investigation for something. Because the cops, he is actually a suspect. It's just they didn't have enough proof or whatever. So he's been, tracked by the cops. And so he gets fired from his job as a school bus driver. So he decides that he's going to kidnap like the last girl that's on the bus, like she's a teenager or whatever. And he takes her back to the lair, and he's like going to rape her in a very, very hard to watch scene. It's very disturbing. And he, that's when like the NIS guy, he, shows up. So he prevents that from happening. But later on, because he let the dude go just so he could have this elaborate revenge on him, other people do get killed, murdered and raped and stuff.
One girl gets raped. I don't think he kills her, though. He prevented that. But that wouldn't have happened had he just killed the dude outright in the very beginning. Yeah. And then I think he ends up killing, in the commission of this shit, a couple of other people die. When that agent could have prevented all that just by killing him outright on the very first fucking day. Yeah. See, so it is a selfish thing, and he seems to not really have a big problem with the fact that he raped that woman, that he didn't really care about it.
It's that's kind of, and like I said, that's kind of like what the theme of the movie is that he's in his. They're not saying necessarily that he's as bad as the serial killer, but as the more it goes on, he's getting to a point where he almost could be as bad because he's getting to a point where all these other people are like getting hurt.
Yeah.
And he almost like doesn't care because he so wants revenge. I promised, my dead fiance that I was going to make him suffer the same way that he made her suffer.
Yeah.
And so all of these people that are like, collateral damage.
He forgets all about preventing crime and protecting people.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying, and they even have like a thing in there where like the guy, the victim's dad, who's also the chief of police, and the victim's sister basically beg him to stop. They're like, look, we know who he is now. The cops know who he is. We get it. We would like to do that too, but it's like you are turning into a monster just like him, and you really need to stop it because this is going to have unforeseen consequences, and indeed it does. And honestly, like at the very, very end, how it ends, like with him just like walking away and like his kind of like sob crying and stuff, is he almost seems to like realize I've become, just as bad as him.
Yeah, it's Oscar. It's on free for on Amazon Prime.
It's on Amazon Prime at the moment for free if you want to watch it. Murder Hornet keeps saying Tom $200 or it's your ass.
No, that bitch is gonna be your ass. He's trying to sell some ass. I don't want your ass, dude. She just got all them down fucking zits and shit on the fucking booty. Shave that shit.
Ew.
Yeah.
John Gora says there's shades of Dirty Harry in I Saw the Devil. Yeah, it is. And I'm gonna say too, this movie is no joke. Okay, so like the violence in this, it's gory, but it's that kind of violence where it's really realistic, and it's just kind of like, I mean, that one scene where he like cuts open that dude's Achilles tendon, is really, really difficult to watch. And one of my favorite scenes in it, actually, as far as like violence and stuff, is the one scene where the serial killer gets picked up by those two other guys in the taxi, who I didn't even realize this until I went and read the Wikipedia synopsis. But one of those guys that's in the taxi, because obviously those guys were criminals too, one of the other guys in the taxi was the fourth suspect, the one that he didn't get to.
Okay, yeah.
And I was like, oh, I didn't realize, because I hadn't got like a real good look at that guy's picture, because he never did like go and check out that guy, because he found the actual killer like the third time around. So, because there was 4 suspects, and he kind of like went down the list, like trying to figure out who it was that actually killed his girlfriend. So, so that scene where he gets picked up in the car, and he like immediately knows these 2 dudes are 2 more predators, and him just like fucking, I don't even know how they fucking shot this, but it's just kind of like this spiraling kind of thing, like around the inside of this car, and him just like stabbing the fuck out of like the dude in the driver's seat and the dude in the back seat. It's amazing.
Yeah. And
there's just fucking blood spraying everywhere. Holy crap!
This is a great movie. Oh,
it's fantastic. I love this fucking movie.
Definitely one of the best Korean movies I've seen. Definitely.
Oh yeah.
It's got its own character and everything. It's up there with Train to Busan and Musa and fucking Old Boy.
Old Boy, yeah. Actually, if you like Old Boy, you'd probably fucking love this if you haven't seen it.
This is better than Old Boy, if you ask me.
Honestly, I love Old Boy, but I think I like this better.
Yeah.
Another thing too, I will bring up the turd scene, I promise.
Yeah.
But everybody says turd scene. Oh no, yeah. But I want to say too, like the cinematography in this is beautiful.
Yeah.
I love the juxtaposition between the serial killer, like with all his warm tones. They have all that kind of thing, and then like the background is kind of like these teal kind of. It's just really, really nice looking, but not overtly stylized. But it is like really nice looking, all the shots and everything. Yeah, there's this one scene in this. Ironically, this movie is full of like rape and dismemberment and violence and people's arms being snapped and broken and Achilles
knowing each other and cannibalism
and cannibalism, like people being cut up and everything like that. And what?
I was going to say certain parts of this movie, now they're not quite as far as like Devil's Rejects or House of a Thousand Corpses, but there is like some of that kind of dynamic. Like serial killers that hang out with one another and do fucking weird shit in front of each other. There's that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it was like, it's just like, hey, bro, I know this other serial killer.
Yeah,
although I thought, did they mention, I thought he was his brother. But was he not?
I didn't catch.
They didn't really look alike.
Yeah, I didn't catch that part. That might be.
I was like, maybe he just called him that just at like.
Well, because they were saying like he's one of us. They were talking about they believed that the FBI agent that was after him, that they believed he was a serial killer He was one.
Yeah, because he was doing the same kind of shit that they did.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's a scene in here where near the beginning, like the first time that the NIS agent captures the serial killer and beats the fuck out of him and fucks up his Achilles tendon and breaks his arm, I think. He breaks his arm or breaks his wrist. And he knocks him out, and he makes him swallow this tracker. It's a tracker and has a microphone on it, so he can kind of hear him talking, and he can like see where he is. Now the serial killer doesn't figure out for a long time how this dude keeps finding him, right? Because he's trying to like get away, and he's just like, how the fuck does he keep like turning up? But eventually he overhears him talking, so he like knows, oh, it's in his stomach, right? So there's this one scene where he goes to a pharmacy and gets a whole shit ton of laxatives. And you saw, because I'd seen this movie before. So it's like, as soon as he goes in and gets all the laxatives, I'm like, yeah, I'm going in the other room for a minute because I remember this scene. And it's like, I can watch people being like cut into pieces and shit like that all day long. But anything having to do with poop, I'm out.
You had to dig in there to find a tracker, man.
Yeah, he had to like give himself diarrhea so he could like dig in. And then he like washes it off and like puts it in another dude.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That he like beat the shit out of. And it's the grossest fucking shit ever. And it's just kind of like, that kind of stuff grosses me out. Like where I'm like kind of almost on the verge of gagging just thinking about it.
Wasn't that bad.
Well, I mean, to me, that kind of stuff bothers me. Like I said,
it was in your mind. I mean, you know, it's not fucking. He's not really digging around and shit. It looked like it, but it was fake. You know.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. See, I'm gagging already.
Yeah.
Just thinking about it. It's so fucking gross. But yeah, it's just like the grossest fucking scene. But it's like, I can watch people get stabbed and like get their heads cut off and shit like that all day. But I can't watch that poop stuff. That's just grosses me out a lot. Yeah, it's just. Danny Rolling Ghostface says, I hope you guys review Scream when it comes out. Oh, the new one.
We gotta, as soon as we gotta go watch fucking Spider-Man too.
Yeah, maybe we can go Thursday or Saturday or something.
Yeah, I want to go during the weekdays when it's not so fucking crowded like it was last time we went there.
Yeah.
We'll get some food and shit.
John Gora says the bit with the fishing hooks got to me. See, it's always kind of like little shit like that. You know what I mean? Where it's just kind of, like I said, this isn't like a super, super gore. It is gory, but it's not like, I don't know. I want to say it's not like torture porn, but it is kind of. But just the violence that they show is so realistic and so, and I have to say too that they don't really like cut away the way a lot of movies would. The one scene toward the end where somebody gets like beheaded, like in a makeshift guillotine. Normally they would like cut away and then just be like the fake head or anything, but they don't do that. So it looks real. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they did their homework, you know, they studied the movies and they're like, you know, how are we gonna get this done? You know, these guys, these directors know what they're doing. The little Koreans are good now. They know how to make shit.
Yeah, I mean, if you haven't seen this movie and you really like Revengeful, like I said, if you liked Old Boy or anything like that, then you would probably fucking love this. It's just the interactions between the guy and the serial killer. It's almost kind of like it's almost kind of like tragic because not only has revenge made, you know, the good guy into a monster, but they're kind of leaving you to imply that he could have never won because the serial killer will never learn or he will never feel bad for what he did because he's not capable of it.
If you like that new Korean series, there's a lot of that kind of tone in this. What was that?
Squid Game?
Squid Game, yeah.
And actually, the guy that plays the main character, the NIS, I think he was in Squid Game as well. I don't know. Remember if it was like, that's right. He was in that.
Yeah,
that's right. The guy from Train to Busan was in it too.
It's a different story, but the writing and the tone is, it's like that. In some ways, just serial killers.
Yeah, I mean, this is way darker than Squid Game.
Well, they've crunched it into a little small area, and it's got a lot of violent action film. It's like Squid Game, and it's like Squid Game and Old Boy and fucking Silence of the Lambs and fucking everything's all just kind of one movie. It's pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty fucked up.
I liked it.
It's pretty fucked up. I thought you would.
Yeah.
That's why I was like kept bugging you to watch it. Yeah. And then finally last night I was like, all right, we're watching this. Goddammit.
It's action horror.
Yeah.
Action horror.
Like I said, I kind of feel like it gets, put into horror.
Yeah, more like action horror.
It is more like a revenge, like an action thriller, but I wouldn't be mad about it if somebody put it in horror. If somebody calls it horror, I don't think you're wrong about it. Oscar Perez says, I would love if you guys review The Cook, the Thief, His Wife, and Her Lover. Jenny, I know you've seen it. Yes, I have.
Sounds familiar.
But Tom, you would consider it a masterpiece. I would really actually want to see that again because I remember really liking that the first time. That was, 70s, no. I want to say it was late 80s or early 90s, but I can't remember now. When the fuck did I see that? Maybe it's newer than I thought. I remember seeing it, I think I saw it in the early 90s or the mid 90s. So it was sometime around there, but maybe like earlier. You should see Sallow then. Yeah, I've seen that as well. Yeah. Like I said, honestly, I just got to a point where I was younger, I couldn't watch anything in movies that had to do with vomit. And I still can't, depending, but it doesn't bother me as much now, but I still can't watch poop stuff. Honestly, I can't even watch that scene in Train Spotting where the dude climbs in the toilet, and it's like, I can't even watch that without... I mean, I can watch it, but I'll just sit there going, just like for fucking 10 minutes afterward, like while I'm thinking about it. Nothing else in movies bothers me except for that kind of stuff. I don't know why. Just 89, thank you. The Cook, the Thief, His Wife, and Her Lover was 89. Yeah, I thought it was late 80s because I remember seeing it around there. But yeah, so seriously, if you haven't seen I Saw the Devil, it's so fucking good. It's so fucking good. You know, it's just, the acting is amazing. The cinematography is amazing. It's super violent.
It's fun.
It's super fucked up.
Yeah.
It's pretty fucked up. Yeah. So if you don't like fucked up shit, then you probably won't like it. But if you do like fucked up shit, then you should see it because it's really good. But yeah, I guess that's it, right? Is that all that you had to say about that?
That's all I had to say about
That's all I have to say about that.
Yeah,
you're being all like Forrest Gumpy.
Just going to end up repeating myself. See it. It's good.
Yeah, like I said, it's on Amazon Prime. It might be on Tubi at the moment, but I'm not entirely sure, so don't quote me on that. But we just watched it on Amazon Prime, like for free. So definitely watch it. All right, so we gonna wrap it up?
Yep.
All right, so we'll be back tomorrow. We're gonna do another movie. Oh, I should say this because I said this on the thing yesterday. Remember, because we were late yesterday because I said, I ordered food and it didn't show up and everything. So after we did the stream, I said, well, I'm going to order some Chinese food, goddammit. We're going to go down and get it. So the minute we opened the door to go down to get the Chinese food, the Domino's food was on our doorstep, like on our porch.
Yeah.
And it hadn't been there like before we did the stream because I checked. Nobody rang the doorbell. Nobody knocked at the door.
Nope.
Nobody texted me or called me or anything and said the food was there. So the sandwich was full of ants.
Yep. You got it for free, though.
Yeah. I mean, I had canceled it.
Yeah.
So I don't know what the fuck.
The salad was sealed. It had not shrink wrapped.
It was shrink wrapped and it was in a bag. So the salad was okay.
Yeah.
But the sandwich was just like in a cardboard box and, you know, was full of ants. So I couldn't eat it. Yeah, but the salad was fine. I ate that.
So, you know, fuck Domino's for delivery. That's up the street anyway. I can run up there and get it.
That's true. I just didn't feel like going anywhere because I was busy and I was just kind of like, well.
They have help wanted signs out here around for all that stuff. I think there's a lot of turnover.
They might not have a lot of delivery drivers. Yeah, maybe that's why, like out in this area. They were having
problems. Remember that? They said they're having problems with delivery. They always need those damn delivery drivers. It's, fuck, man. Why would you want to burn up your own car for that?
Yeah, I mean, delivering pizzas is just kind of like seems like a.
I would only do it if you were in like a high density area, and you could use a motorcycle with your damn hot box on the back and you don't want a big bike. You want like a 250 that gets a 125 miles an hour gallon. You know, 125 miles to a gallon. Because then you wouldn't spend all your money in fucking gasoline.
And I mean, honestly, if you were going to be a delivery driver, you might as well do something like Grubhub or Uber Eats or something like that. And then you could just like deliver for lots of things.
Right, yeah. You'd probably I don't think
you make well, it depends where you live. I mean, if you live in a high density area without a lot of other drivers, then you can make okay money, I think. Right. But you still have to pay. Usually, I think some of the companies give you like a gas. I can't remember which companies give you like
your expenses,
gas allowance. Yeah,
your auto expenses and the fucking hours. Yeah, and they're constantly running you fucking ragged. And if you're in a high density area where all the money is, chances are you're in a high crime area too. Those dudes get fucking robbed.
Yeah, it just seems like it's not worth it.
This is out in the country, so everything's far. You want a little motorcycle that gets great gas mileage.
Yeah, because shit, out here, I can imagine this Dominic. I mean, there's some houses around here, but you probably have to drive really far, like, for a delivery.
Probably in a damn 10-mile square. And it's a lot of these fucking little roads are hard. But now they have GPS, so it'd be a lot easier than it used to. You could plot a course.
Yeah.
You'd have like 9 deliveries to do, and you could fucking plot them all. Probably get them all in right order, too. If you got good enough of that GPS.
Well, yeah.
I got a badass Garmin. Fucking you go right there on my damn Hanna bars. But you don't want like a 1,000cc or 1,200cc motorcycle like mine. You want like a 250. Because, you know, the priority isn't speed. Priority is gas economy.
Yeah.
And no expenses, you know. And real cheap insurance and stuff. Real cheap running costs. Car would just eat you up. Just dumb. Nowadays. Just eat you up. Yeah.
Camp Guy said, I used to have a Chinese restaurant that had the owner guy or his kid from the restaurant that delivered. Honestly, I think the Chinese place up here delivers, but I imagine it's only over a certain amount and it doesn't, because it looks like they only have like 2 or 3 people working there. It's pretty small, but...
It's so close. It's just easy to just run out there.
Yeah, and I mean, I just order online and then go up there and get it. So that's what I had yesterday, because I was like, well, Domino's didn't bring me anything, so I guess I was like really starving. But yeah, all right. So we'll figure out a movie to watch this evening. Maybe we'll do. I'm gonna write this down because otherwise I'll forget. If The Cook, the Thief. Maybe we'll all watch that tonight, because if we can find it for not terribly expensive, maybe we can watch that tonight and talk about that tomorrow. But yeah, have a good rest of your afternoon, you guys, and we'll see you guys tomorrow afternoon. Bye.